we're going to get started here. I will call to order the December 21, 2022 regular meeting of the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority. At this time, we will have public comment. Anybody here for public comment today? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Now is the time for our informational meeting. Tim?
Most of the board members will know we've done this twice a year since 2018 when the State Act was changed to require that the board hold schedule an informational meeting. We've done that July of this year. This is the second meeting that's required under that. There's no specific information that's required to be given out. I've included a couple highlights in the cover memo in terms of some of the events and things that DDA has taken on or will be taking on, and that you normally do. There is no required action taken. Frankly, there's no requirement for a quorum of the board to hold this meeting. So I don't have anything to add other than the cover memo, and again, there is no action required.
Okay. Anything regarding this item? Seeing none, we will resume the regular meeting at this time and go to item number 5, approval of the meeting minutes from November 16, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the meeting minutes as presented.
Motion by Director Brake.
I second.
Second by Director Roswick. Any corrections, deletions to the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Item number 6 is expense items, monthly expenses for November. This is for the board's information. If you have any questions for staff, now would be the time. Anything from the board? Seeing none. Okay. At this point, I'm going to ask to indulge us 1 minute here. I am going to, the chair is going to switch items number 7 and 8 because we have a board member that needs to leave, and I think yours might take a little bit more time. So we're just going to switch 7 and 8. Okay, so I'm going to move on to item number 8, which is Pride 2023 sponsorship request. Daniel, is that you going to lead us in on this?
This was an item that came before the marketing committee at its regular meeting this month. This is a follow-up to the Pride 2022 sponsorship request from last year. This one essentially is to bring the event forward to its second year. In it, you'll note that there's been a changeover from partners on the event production side. So previously, Gary Baglio of 515 was working with 360 Event Productions. Due to time constraints, that's been switched over, and now Big Time Operator, or Murray and Peter Presents, has jumped on board to co-plan this with Gary. Additionally, you'll notice in the meat of the memo, there is a breakdown of expenses and information that was talked about at the meeting and where those expenses are increasing, and then an additional ask of increasing the sponsorship to $100,000. And in this did not receive a unanimous recommendation. It was a split recommendation on how much to provide for the event.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Okay. Any questions for staff at this time? Okay. Did you want to direct a? Yeah. Okay.
speech, but since you moved me up, I'll do the best I can. Thanks, everybody. First, let me start off by saying I'm very, very proud of what we did last year. My goals were to raise the bar on a Pride celebration in Michigan, and we did that tenfold. I was extremely surprised at how well received it was, how well attended it was, and the entertainment value that we brought to the city. That said, this year, learning from some of the missteps that we did last year, I'm looking to improve and not make those, improve on those, and increase the attendance, mainly by spreading the event out through vendors and retailers and shop owners throughout the city, and I can do that in several ways, which I'll outline in a minute, and reaching out more towards the ally community. And I can do that through entertainment. Last year, our programming was specifically for LGBTQIA people. This year, we want to expand on that by bringing entertainers that will appeal to both, and that requires more money. But more importantly, the atmosphere around the LGBTQ community this year has been challenged by the shooting in Colorado and some of the threats, DHS security threats that they've issued for the community. So it's very important that we increase security at the festival, and that's going to require more money. I want to make this very clear. It is not my plan to come here every year and ask you guys for 50% of my operating budget. But this year, because of the departure of last year's promoter, we're basically starting from square one again, and we'll need that additional security. Any questions about that so far?
Quick question, Gary. So the departure, was this a last minute departure of the promoter?
Yes.
Okay, so you were starting, and I'm just help me how that dovetails with the security. Did they have security?
DPS provided security. I think we had 5 police officers and then all the barricades, which we're probably going to have to increase a lot this year.
Okay.
But,
Is the increase in security in the budget, is that for police or also police and your own security?
police and our own security.
Okay, and you didn't have your own security last year? Okay.
No. Any other questions?
No, thanks.
The other way I want to help spread this throughout the city is there are ways, when we bring in, for example, RuPaul entertainers, along with those come meet and greets. We didn't utilize those last year for various reasons. We can take those meet and greets, and I can, for example, put a meet and greet at Bright Impressions for just as an example, or Fifth Avenue, or one of the other businesses, or one of our other sponsors throughout the city. Additionally, we can bring in LGBTQ authors and put them at bookstores within the city and spread people out that way. Additionally, after the festival hours are finished at 11 o'clock at night, there really wasn't anywhere other than Pronto to go. We'd like to spread those people and give them places to go within the city. So if we bring in national DJs that play at some of the larger places throughout the city, it'll keep the crowds here and move them throughout the city, bars, restaurants, whatsoever. That's additional entertainment funding. And again, the main focus, some of the missteps were the footprint's going to stay the same. We're not going to close Washington between 5th and 6th until Friday morning. There was no reason to close it on Wednesday last year. It was 2 days that was a waste. And also, we're going to try to keep the alley between 6th and 7th behind Rocket open for their deliveries and pickups and all of that stuff. Those are the two main challenges that we got last year. So we're going to correct those this year with the footprint. Any other questions?
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Baglio at this time?
I had one.
Yes, go ahead.
Gary, is the promoter, what other street events has he done? Because I went on his line online, I couldn't find any street events that he had done.
They don't do, they haven't done any street events, but they do large auditorium, stadium, concert events all across the world. In fact, that's why they're not here right now, because they are in, I think, San Antonio doing the RuPaul Drag Christmas. They're the #1 LGBTQ promoters of drag entertainment in the world.
Okay.
And their offices are right here in downtown Royal Oak.
But they've never done a street event before?
No.
Okay. And then I did notice on the map, I think 7th Street, you've got closed just east of that alley, right, I think?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Correct.
That's it.
So, a couple more questions. Is there is an admission charge, correct?
It's free before 5 o'clock.
And then after 5?
Last year it was 5, and hopefully that will remain the same.
5 after 5? And I know you said there was around 20,000 last year, anticipated this year?
Hopefully we can double that. And again, the hope is to keep them here throughout the evening. After the entertainment ended last year, the crowds kind of dispersed. The goal is to keep them here at the businesses and spread that throughout the restaurants and bars.
Okay. One more question here. On the expenses, I noticed you guys have beer, wine, and liquor on there at 25,000. I'm assuming you're going to sell beer, wine, and liquor, right?
Yes.
That's to purchase your initial. So there'll be revenues produced out of that 25.
Correct.
The rest are basically fixed and costs, to draw people and to take care of things. So the 25,000 is revenue producing, correct?
Yes.
Got it.
Dr. London?
So to clarify, the additional money is mostly seed money to help you.
Seed money to help us build our infrastructure. Again, I want to make it clear, the plan is not to come here and ask you guys to fund 50% of this every single year. It's just help us get the seed money to build our infrastructure so that each year the DDA could be a sponsor, not a major funder.
So you can get more sponsors, so it's self.
Correct.
So,
I'm sorry. Just quick, and just explain what you mean. You mean putting you on the map, seed money, or like seed money is? Are you talking about building an infrastructure? How? I'm just confused.
For example, printing and things that can be used year after year after year. Unless I can get some of that stuff from the prior promoter, we're gonna have to do it all over again.
Okay. So I'm just confused. I didn't understand. So there's stuff like banners and stuff like that that we purchased or they purchased last year.
Correct.
They're not letting you use this year. So there's stuff. Make an example, like if we wrap the trees in the garlands can stay every year, but we may have to change the lights.
Right.
Okay.
Dr. Russell?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the request for $100,000 from the DDA.
I'll second it.
Motion by Director Roswick, second by Director London. Questions and comments? Director Yazbek?
This may be a little bit for Gary, but maybe a little bit for you also, Daniel. Some of the items listed that the sponsor receives, that the DDA would receive, 100,000 in media coverage, inclusion in press releases and so forth. Would it be practical or possible to, I don't know that it's that important for the DDA to have our name on things associated to this event, but if we were able to use those opportunities to promote other things that we're doing downtown, like Downtown Dollars or other things that we're doing with that media coverage, that could be deemed of value.
I can't speak to Gary's openness to plugging our events and plugging any sort of thing that we brand and carry with us like Downtown Dollars, but on our end we would certainly continue to push those things and work with him with
Absolutely.
Siren, our strategic partners.
You guys know my dedication and love for the city. Anything that I can do to promote the city within this event is a plus. The goal is to welcome the LGBTQ community to Royal Oak, to roll out the red carpet. So absolutely anything that in that regard. Also, I thought maybe next to one of the stages we could do a DDA area. I shouldn't say this on TV, but there's some really cool ideas that nobody picked up on last year that you guys could do to keep your names out there that are incredibly creative. A drag queen dunk tank. drag queen car wash. There's lots of things. A play area for young families next to the stage would be great.
To me, that's a value add that we could,
Absolutely.
identify. I had one more question. Is there a reason why you're asking the sponsorship money to go to this new entity versus, one of your entities or an entity that you control?
I see myself as a consultant. I'm the connection to the city. I know what you guys expect. I have a level of expectation for what I put my name to, and I like to guide that along, which is what the reason that the event was so successful last year. It was because of me, and I plan to do that until it has legs of its own, where I can just retire and make sure that it's doing well. So that's my goal. I'm there to make sure that everything goes well, and when I see that it's time to step away, I will.
I don't know, to me, you just argued to give the money to you or your entity.
I'm not sure how well that would fly that the DDA is giving a downtown business sponsorship money. I feel that something weird about that.
Director Riley?
Yeah, Gary, remind me, how much did we do last year for this event? 75.
It's in the.
And I'm looking at the budget and the entertainment is going from basically 48, let's call it 50 to 75. In my opinion, I'm happy on the DDA's end to pay, if we just said our 25 was for that, because I like Gary's idea of increasing the entertainment. I think we know with Arts, Beats and Eats, when the entertainment increases, it brings more people in, it brings more an eclectic group of people in. So I think that really drives everything there. So I'm good with it just strictly on that end, let alone the additional security, and I understand the reason for the additional security. And I think Gary, what you guys are doing, I think that's really honorable and it's smart, because you can't have too much security right now. So
just as a sidebar, I bring in entertainers to 515 all the time, national entertainers from RuPaul's Drag Race. And since the Colorado incident, they won't come unless you provide security the day of. So now, sadly, a place that people come to forget about their daily lives, the cancer patients and divorces and whatever, people come there to laugh, and they're immediately greeted at the door by someone checking their purse for a gun. And slam back into reality of daily lives. It's very sad. But I can't bring these people in without having that contract agreement. So it's a sad state of affairs.
And again, the last thing I'd say is, I share Tony's concern and I share Director Dunstan's concern that the promoter, Murray and Peter, although they might be wonderful at what they do, this is their first undertaking. Is that going to make me say no to the 100,000? No, it's not. I wish there was, I wish there was a way to guarantee the success. I guess, and that one we're just going to have to try them out. I mean, at this point, sounds like you got put behind the 8 ball, and you probably didn't want to do it all yourself.
Well, that said, last year was rough doing it, and I think I did a pretty good job. And there was a concern last year, but I didn't let you guys know about it.
Okay. Almost like the Christmas event 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Director Rosbeck.
Yes, I just want to, reiterate my support for this because of the fact that this is an inclusive event that we're able to bring into Royal Oak, the birthplace of pride, as Gary has educated us on. And I really do think that an event like this, if this type of audience feels safe in this city, this brings more money into the city from a group of people that are willing to support any community that makes them feel safe and welcome and inclusive. So I appreciate Gary being forthright that this is not something he wants to come back to us every year to be a main sponsor of. I really appreciate that. So that is why I'm throwing my support behind this.
Thank you. Okay, just real quick, Gary, could you remind me, without me having to look through this, this is strictly a one-day event, correct?
2 days.
2 days.
Friday and
It's a two-day
Saturday.
event.
Correct.
Okay.
It's the 11th and 12th.
Was this event reviewed by the marketing committee after last year's event?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. My concerns are a couple things here. I do support the event. I'm concerned about the amount of money, which is normal for me, but this is a lot of money. And we have many things that are coming up on our 2023 budget that is that we're going to need funds for. And a lot of those even spread wider than this project in terms of infrastructure and so forth. So I have some concerns about that. I'm a little worried about the fact that I'm having a hard time picturing. I believe in what you're telling us because I trust you as a person, but I have a hard time seeing us going back and reducing this amount as the years go by. And I think the only way that could possibly be achieved, and it's going to fall probably squarely on yours and the promoters, which I'm a little concerned about in this, and I guess it's because you're getting a late start, is when I've seen similar events to this in other cities and in other areas and everything, I mean, we've seen some pretty big name sponsors get behind events like this. I mean, we're talking car companies and liquor and vodka and beer companies and so forth and so forth, but apparently that's not part of this. Is that a fair question?
There are, and you're right, we are behind the 8 ball in getting a late start. However, I've been able to keep some of the major sponsors that we had last year on board, knowing that this meeting was today. I can tell you that the promoters that I'm bringing on now have much more free time to access new sponsors than the person that I was working with last year. My hope is to build that bank up, the group of people that want to, for example, Beaumont came on last year. They're very happy. They're going to come on this year again, probably for a larger dollar amount. Those were people that I secured. I think we can do better, and I think we can hold on to them longer and keeping it a continuous relationship over the years, so that in year 2, 3, 4, and 5, that I won't have to come back to you and ask you for the large dollar amount that we're asking for this year.
I appreciate that, and I'm hoping that you can appreciate the fact that the DDA just doesn't want to be the only sponsor of
I get it.
this event when there's other funds out there that could be attributed to it, and so forth and so forth. So I think if we have that understanding, and maybe that becomes part of the discussion on the next review and so forth as we move forward in the future. Agreed. Together, which I think this board has expressed its interest in being a continual sponsor. So I think there's something to work with there.
Agreed.
So, any other questions, comments at this time? Okay, if not, we have a motion on the table for the resolution as written. That being said, I will call for the vote at this time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
Thanks, guys. You'll be proud. Thanks.
Director Yezvik.
Yes, I wanted to bring up the other item that we discussed at the Consumer Marketing Committee. It's not on the agenda, and I understand that why it's not on the agenda. There wasn't a contract completed in time. The other item that we discussed at Consumer Marketing Committee was the Arts Beats and Eats. And as the Arts Beats and Eats, Mr. Witz requested something very simple. Our involvement as a DDA is very limited in agreement with between the city and Arts Beats and Eats. The extent of our involvement is the financial support that we've been giving, and a paragraph or clause in there that provides that if we don't recover our $100,000 sponsorship 2 years running, that we can sit down, we can meet and reevaluate our level of support during the contract. That's really it. So in light of that, and at least in my opinion, in light of the importance of this event to the downtown, I think we as the DDA can step forward and show our support in our limited function as the from the financial perspective. I think we're able to do that at this point, contingent, of course, on the negotiations between the city and Arts Beats and Eats. Anything we do here is contingent on what the city agrees ultimately to do with the language and with Arts Beats and Eats. But from our perspective, our level of support, the $100,000, and I would submit an unqualified level of support for the requested 3-year extension, is something that we can handle right now, and let the city commission know at least that we have that we as a body support the continuation of Arts Beats and Eats, and so they can factor that into whatever negotiations they're having. So I guess, you know, what I'm trying to say is that although there's no contract in place at this time, we can convey to the city commission and to Arts Beats and Eats that we would move forward at this point with the extension of our sponsorship, annual sponsorship of $100,000, and I would submit without qualification. I don't know technically if I can make a motion to that effect, or if I have to make a motion first to add that to the agenda.
Well, the bylaws indicate that anything to be added to the agenda requires unanimous consent of the whole board. So the first thing would be just to add an item to the agenda and vote on whether the entire board wants it added. If it's not unanimous, it can't be added according to your bylaws.
So then I would like, because this is a very important item, a very important event for the downtown and the businesses downtown, I would at least like to discuss it. So I would like to make a motion to add the item that we discussed at the Consumer Marketing Committee level, the Arts Beats and Eats, to the agenda at this point.
Motion by Director Yazbek.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Second by Director Riley. So discussion on this motion. Right now, we're just voting on, we're not voting on the material, we're just voting on whether to take this matter up at this time.
I guess I would like what Daniel's opinion is.
Well, I'll jump in the sense that the Consumer Marketing Committee, as part of the review of the agreement, did discuss the provision that talks about if you don't receive your funds back from parking revenue from the city in a 2-year period, you have the right to potentially renegotiate a reduction in your contribution. That requires that you don't get paid back in 2 years. Based on the information I've received, that's only occurred this year. So it would take a second year, which would be next year, for that to even kick in and for you to have that discussion. Secondly, the agreement only requires that you renegotiate or do it by August of 2023. So there is no rush to renegotiate or take provisions out today. And I'm always concerned about taking an action on an item that's not before you, that you don't have the wording on. And frankly, the committee was concerned about other items rather than just this, and one of those being the raising of the parking fee from $15 to $20, and asking the commission whether they supported that raise to ensure that you got your money back. Next, the committee was concerned about were there any other termination clauses in that agreement, and you wanted to see the agreement in its totality. So unless the board really is wanting to act upon on something that's in front of you, my recommendation to you is that you don't do this. You don't move forward with an item that you don't have in front of you. And there is plenty of time between now and August to put those provisions together and actually have a revised agreement that you can deal with. It's my understanding that the City Commission didn't act upon this because they want to look at it in its totality as well. And finally, even if you act on this today, it's a three-party agreement which will require the Commission to concur with whatever you do today. So doing anything today under this agreement won't bind or move this forward. So my recommendation is that you don't add it to the agenda and you don't deal with it until you actually have something to deal with.
Thank you.
Dr. Yazbek.
I feel like we did approve my motion because we are discussing it now, but
Well, you've got a motion on the table.
just have a
That's why I
motion.
make comments. We haven't acted.
We haven't acted.
I haven't voted.
I understand, but at the Consumer Marketing Committee, the discussion was, yes, some of those items came up, but the point that you made, Tim, and I think correctly, is we don't even have an attorney at the table. The city negotiates all those terms that you just mentioned, and the only involvement that we have is the financial support that, based on the last agenda item, I think is clearly something that the entire board would support. So I don't know why we can't move forward with that now. And the other thing is that language about the 2 years. And if we are willing to, as a board, delete that language, because although it might have been smart language at the beginning, we weren't familiar with Arts, Beats, and Eats and what they were going to do. Certainly after the 12-year performance of Arts, Beats, and Eats, that language is completely superfluous at this point. We don't need protection of that sort anymore. So we can certainly convey that to the commission when they're negotiating the contract, and so they know our position on it. So the two simple things of supporting financially, agreeing to extend our $100,000 annual sponsorship, and convey that to the commission, along with the deletion of that language, or at least our willingness to have that language deleted, seems so easy. And I'm really just trying to simplify the process. I know the commission is going through a negotiation with Arts, Beats, and Eats, but we don't have to be involved in that. And I think that was the proper message at the Consumer Marketing Committee level. So that's all I'm trying to do, is just take us out of it. And ultimately, we might be even out of the contract, I understand, because we don't really have any involvement. So why does the DDA have to hang on to this issue? It just, in my opinion, it's not necessary.
Director Riley.
Yeah, I'm just going to say a few things here. I mean, I'm not sure what the issue is here, and I'm not sure why we didn't get the $100,000 back this year. I mean, I'm not sure why. From what I understand, there were some changes in the way things got accounted for. I'm not sure. And so I think the answer was, for us to get the money back, the parking would be raised with the new conditions that were made inside the city. To be honest with you, whether we get our money back or not, getting it back, to me, in the 8 or 9 years that I've been sitting here, I think we got it back every year, except 1 year I think we got $75,000 back. And it's one of the best investments that we've ever done, probably the best investment that we've done in my time on the board, in terms of bringing people to town, bringing a diverse group of people to town, economic impact. We just sat here and gave $100,000 to a promoter who has never done an outdoor event before. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because it's different, it's new, and we're gonna take a chance. Okay? We're gonna take a chance on it. We're gonna see what they can do. We're rolling the dice on $100. Just like the first time this board gave Arts Beats and Eats $100,000. It was sort of an insurance policy. It was exactly what Gary Baglio just said there. It gave the promoter infrastructure to go out and do what he could do. In the event that he had rain, he could go hire bands, he could go do whatever. Okay? And to me, the $100,000 is a no-brainer, and I love that we get it back. And if we don't get it back, oh well, it's an investment. We spent what, $75,000 on the jingle, and I know not every event is intended just for economic impact and to bring people to town. That's more of a family event. That was a one-day event. It was really nice. The parade was nice. 3rd Street was sparsely attended. At 7 o'clock, just as fate would have it, I was walking up from my mom's house right as the parade was starting. I walked by the ice rink. The ice rink was packed. The ice rink was packed. 3rd Street, of course, was empty, and then there were some people up at the parade. The promotion that this promoter gives us is second to none. We get all kinds of emails about the dollars and everything. All you got to do is Google stuff. Okay, it gets our name out there. So I don't think, in my opinion, the $100,000 should not be an issue. And I agree with Director Yesbeck that, you know, it was written in there, 13 years ago, you know, that we could revisit it, this, that, and the other. In my opinion, we just blanketly make it $100,000 and hope that we get it back. I mean, the promoter is a tried and proven record, brings 300 to 400,000 people a year here.
Director Bright.
So respectfully, my understanding is this is a motion to put this on the agenda. We're now arguing the merits of this. In spirit, if we're voting to show cooperation with Arts Beats and Eats, sign me up. But the fact of the matter is, we don't have the materials. You're speaking about issues that the board is not even aware of. So I think in fairness that we need to vet this and properly notice this, provide the information. Tony, I'm not against what you're saying, but I think we do need to do this properly because we need a better understanding of this. So again, I want to clarify, I will be voting no, but it's not because I'm against working cooperatively and to continue the festival. It's how we're going about this.
Any other comments? Okay. So we do have a motion on the table still. At this time, I will call for that vote. And the vote is to put this onto today's agenda. Okay, just so we're clear on that. Okay, so I'll call for the vote at this time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
And this is not unanimous, so this does not pass. Okay. So we're ready now for item number 7, strategic communication plan with Siren. Apologize for the delay.
Oh, no need to apologize. We're here for all of it.
It's only 4:40.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Good to see you. Hi, Jay. Good to see you. Matt. Been a while. Kristen is passing out copies of the strategic communication plan, and we're here today to discuss it. Director Sophia, do I have a targeted time frame for this? How long do you want this to take? I was thinking like maybe 15, 20 minutes, but I want to make sure that that's respectful.
I think that's within our
Okay.
time
Cool.
frame.
Okay, great. Okay, I am Lindsay Grasso, which was Lindsay Walenga, but just so you know, that's happening. I'm the CEO of Siren. We're a strategic communication firm. I got to work on my own messaging around that. It's fine. I'll figure that out. We're a strategic communication firm based in Royal Oak, and we've been the DDA's strategic communication partner for a number of years now. Our process for building and enhancing the reputation of the Royal Oak DDA and downtown Royal Oak begins with strategy. So every year we develop a strategic communication plan to guide our efforts, and that is what we're presenting to you today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Kristen Bushel. I'm the Director of Communication Strategy at Siren, and I've been on the account since we started working with you all in 2020.
Okay, so Siren's strategic communication process begins with discovery, and that has a couple different components. We held a discovery session with members of the board and the staff. We also did earlier this fall community listening sessions, and there was also a survey distributed to the community to get feedback from them related to, priorities, needs, preferences in the downtown area. What we're looking for in that discovery session and through our research with the community is how to enhance the experience in downtown Royal Oak so that we can attract more people and give everybody a more positive experience. We're also looking for opportunities and weaknesses with the DDA's reputation and the reputation of the downtown area. So what you're looking at here is the strategic communication plan that will guide our efforts for the coming year. I'm going to go through the messaging portion, and then Kristen will take you through the strategy portion of the plan. To guide you through it, on page 3, these keywords came out of our research. Also, I just want to say, please cut me off at any point. I'm going to pause so that you all can comment at some points, but I don't mind being interrupted too. These keywords came out of our research. We're hearing that these things matter when it comes to downtown Royal Oak and the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority. Things like, foot traffic, certainly. Since our beginning of our relationship with the DDA, entertainment and fun and experiences have been like cornerstones of the brand here. That is showing itself to still be true. Walkability, a community feel. These are things that people are saying are part of the downtown Royal Oak experience, and that also we want to highlight. These keywords are called out because they're the basis for how we go create messaging about downtown Royal Oak. And the messaging is created so that all of the leaders on the board and the staff can be consistent in the way that we talk about downtown Royal Oak, and how us as your communication partner can position you in a way that will connect with the people that you need to connect with. I will say one of the points of consideration was that we heard that it is both, that Royal Oak both wants to be a destination and a place for residents to enjoy. And those things are related but distinctly different. So how we encompass both of those into the messaging was, for example, a point of consideration. Something that was also a point of consideration was how we connect with and communicate to families, homeowners in the area, in addition to people who don't have children, whether they're single or in a partnership that live in or around the area, to experience the nightlife and entertainment in Royal Oak, to say that those two things don't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive. So these were points of consideration. As you move through, so what I'll do is I will walk you through what these are. What I don't want to do right now is necessarily splice out what words feel right and which ones don't. I would invite you to sit with this and provide feedback directly to Daniel so that he can communicate that to us, and then we can make any adjustments necessary. But I don't think that we'll have the time right now to kind of negotiate, what exact words should be represented. The purpose statement, this is similar to what it's been since 2020. It hinges around meaningful experiences. This is the purpose of downtown Royal Oak, we are saying, to provide meaningful experiences to the people that visit here. I think it's also the purpose of the DDA, in a way, to provide meaningful experiences in downtown Royal Oak. As we look to the brand narrative statement, this is longer form. The bolded phrases are key phrases that we want to lean into when we're creating content for the DDA and downtown Royal Oak. A walkable, centrally located community, certainly the inclusive nature of everyone is invited and welcome here. And as we look to strategies, like how can we make sure that residents feel welcomed and invited first. And then, again, that entertaining and meaningful experiences. The brand narrative statement doesn't necessarily show up anywhere word for word. I mean, it certainly could, but it's used as a basis of content creation from Kristen and I, from our team, also from Daniel, for inspiration, like artistic and creative inspiration.
Lindsay,
Yes.
did you talk about the personas? Are these out of data?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Are the personas built from data?
They are built from qualitative data, so from the discovery session and the community listening session and the survey. So quantifiable data as far as, what the makeup of the residents are, for example. And you know what, can you clarify for me, or maybe you don't know the answer, I could ask the board, did we receive the demographic makeup of homeowners and renters in Royal Oak, the downtown area?
We don't have it, no. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's something we could access.
So, I mean, that would be the quantitative data that we could look to, certainly, as we're finalizing this. And that was a consideration because one of the discussion points in Discovery was how resident demographic has changed over the years, to make sure that we are aware of, and if we're going to be seeking to attract residents into the downtown area, to make sure that we're aware of who they are.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to go into too many details, but I wanted to understand why we had 2 women personas. And if it's qualitative, then I get it. They filled out the survey.
Sure.
But I don't know that that's indicative of the individuals coming into our establishments and things like that.
Well, you know what, Jenny, I think that's a really, Director Rosbach, excuse me.
That's okay.
It's an official setting. I think that's an important question, and I'm certainly willing to revisit that if we do receive demographic data at the city level and it shows differently. I mean, if there is a significant portion of the population that is, say, men from 25 to 50 that are single, then we might need to shift the resident without kids to reflect that, which is a fairly simple
Easy.
thing to do.
Right. I would probably guess that's part of the demographic, and I know in sitting on this board, we've talked about this. We've had, I think the mom with kids is probably a good persona, but we're missing the bar life too. And we know that the bar life exists, whether it's
the opposite
resident or
problem.
not, right?
I think it's the opposite problem. Our social media was always directed towards the bar life, forgetting that most of the shoppers are mom with kids.
Oh, I agree, but we're talking about personas right
Okay.
now, so that's all I'm.
So, let's jump into that. Let's just jump to the personas, because what you see here is we have 2 for downtown Royal Oak, and then we have 1 persona for the Downtown Development Authority. And they're very related but different. So what's different this year versus previous years is this year we are calling out the DDA as specifically raising awareness and credibility for the DDA as an entity, separate and related to downtown Royal Oak. So the persona for the DDA is a male business owner. But for downtown Royal Oak, we do have 2 women, and they are one with kids, one without kids. One of the points that I want to make here is that from our qualitative research and what we also know as being members of these groups, Kristen and I, is that what a resident with kids wants isn't necessarily all that different from what a resident without kids wants. Parents these days, it's having fun in a very similar way to the way that you did before you had children is definitely a priority. And being able to bring your kids to have the fun, not that you had when you were 21, but when you were maybe 28, and having a good time with your friends. It's not to say that you don't want to go to breweries anymore. You still do. You just want to make sure that if you bring your kids, you're not going to get stared at.
Food.
Exactly, and that they'll be right. Exactly, all that. So you can see the description of each, and then the messaging for each is fairly similar, except that Robin, who we're calling the resident with kids, she wants to know that her family is welcome. I think that Charlotte is pretty sure that she's welcome here and that there's going to be opportunity for her. Royal Oak has a long-standing reputation of being a place to have a good time. So those two personas are not entirely different, but I would be willing, certainly, for us to take another look if we're able to find data that points us in a different direction. Is there any questions so far? Okay. Then as we move on, this mission statement is your mission statement. We did not write this. We are putting it in here because with the goal, oh wait, I skipped one. Did I skip one?
Yeah, page 9.
You're good.
Yeah, right, got it. Okay, we're getting there. We put the mission statement in here because now we're in the messaging section about the DDA. And we want to make sure that we're putting in front of us the language that already is approved and exists around how to talk about the Downtown Development Authority so that we can put that in the forefront of our minds and begin using it. It already exists. It's descriptive. It's accurate. Let's put it to use. And ways to do that, yes, fall on our shoulders, fall on Daniel's shoulders, but also fall on the shoulders of each of you as the directors of the Downtown Development Authority to be representing the DDA, out there consistently and proactively in the community. So when we look at the audience persona on page 10, we have Sam. He's a local business owner. Daniel has conversations with Sam all the time. We're also out there in the community. Our team, Kristen, and another team member of ours named Tristan, out there having conversations, interviewing business owners, getting feedback from them. We host listening sessions each year to understand the business owners' priorities and needs. And what Sam needs is foot traffic. He needs to see that his business is being supported. One of the key ways that the DDA does this, in addition to all the wonderful programs that you implement, a key value proposition here is the ability for the DDA's communication channels to be leveraged for the good of the businesses. And that's a core part of our strategy in our partnership with the DDA, is telling the story of the businesses through the media, through media pitching, TV segments, and also through social media and the newsletter and those channels that have been developed. So you can see more messaging here, and something that is important to note is that what came out of our research was that more collaboration with other business owners and opportunity to participate in both large and particularly small scale events. Kristen will get into this in a little bit when she talks about the communication strategy side, but something that's very important that I can't stress enough is that in our discovery session, in our listening sessions, in all of the research, the community is asking for small scale events that are free, events that don't close streets, events that the business owners can participate in, just small enhancements to the downtown experience that people can come and enjoy. And a reason for that, one of the reasons being, when you spend money on a ticket to something, then you're less likely to spend money at an establishment in Royal Oak. So the business owners feel supported when they have the ability to attract more people without, deterring from their revenue potential. Okay, so when we look at page 11, what we're looking at is your DDA goals. Those are on the left. Those are already approved. Those are from you. We did not write those. Something that Director Safaya asked for specifically was, how do we talk about what the DDA's priorities are in 2023? So after listening to the board, we did, a questionnaire we sent to everybody. We gathered that these 4 buckets are where the priorities for the DDA lie in 2023. If you provide feedback to any section in this document, I would like it on page 11 in the DDA priorities section. I need to know that you all agree that these are the priorities for the DDA in 2023. And are you willing and ready to say that? And if not, what would you replace it with? That's really important feedback to give to Daniel so that we can have it be accurate.
Can I just add that under parking, I think one of the things we which I think you heard in your listening sessions, was, structures, people don't feel, whether it's a reality or a perception, they don't feel safe in the structures. So I think we have to connect safety with parking and structures as a priority.
Well, particularly, if your audiences are Robin and Charlotte, being a woman in a parking structure is not a comfortable place to be all the time. I mean, it's certainly
Correct.
different here than it is in other cities, but that's reality. So I think that's a good
Yeah, there's
point to
a difference
consider.
between having to use a structure because you are going to you're going to work every day in a bigger city, and that's where you park. Going for fun or out late at night and going
When you're
into a
coming back
structure
at 1 a.m., yeah,
doesn't scream safe
sure.
to everybody. But Royal Oak is safe, so I want
Yeah.
I want us to keep messaging that.
Well, that's a really interesting point to add actually to the storytelling theme area. If there are statistics around safety that we can convey through social media and the newsletter or something like that, I think that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
I think the other question I have around promoting businesses is you put them 35,000 followers across Facebook and Instagram, which is great. Do we have a growth target there? And I didn't see it as a KPI anywhere. So I'd love to see what our growth target is to grow that audience. And then also look at, is it Royal Oak versus outside Royal Oak? Who's looking at our Instagram? And
Yeah. So on page 13 are the goals, and once the goals are accepted, then we will set the KPIs. And I would imagine that social media growth would be one of them.
great.
Yeah, and that'll be something that we'll work directly with Daniel on together.
Yeah, I would love to know that we have a target that we're going towards.
Okay, great. Okay, so that is it. That's the entirety from the messaging side. Again, please convey your feedback to Daniel, because we certainly want to include it as we finalize this plan. And also know that a lot of what's in here is already being implemented, because this is a moving train. Like, it's rolling down the tracks. And it has been for, a number of years now. So we will integrate your feedback as we receive it. Let's start with the goals.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So these goals are, some of them focus specifically around Siren's work, and then also some of it is in collaboration with Daniel and the strategy that we work on together. So clearly and effectively communicate key initiatives and programs in downtown Royal Oak. So this can range anywhere from, we did a lot of stuff with Small Business Saturdays specifically, and collaborating with the DDA on that. And then it also can involve outside partners, for example, with the Royal Oak Jingle, or we've done some stuff with the Royal Oak Chamber in the past as well. So a lot of it, it can be either one of those. Generate positive stories about downtown Royal Oak, its businesses, and the DDA. In the past, I don't think we've included the DDA specifically, but from what we've heard from all of you, we definitely want to put more of an emphasis on what the DDA is doing and the support that they provide to the businesses and the downtown development district. And then raise awareness for the value of the Downtown Development Authority. So those are the goals that we have right now. And we certainly welcome your feedback. And as Lindsay mentioned, once these goals are approved, then we'll work with Daniel to kind of set those KPIs for each of these specific goals. Does anyone have any questions about the goals?
No, I would just say that I think the goals are an important part. I think the mission statement, which we've had for a while, is still pertinent today. And I think it clearly states the goals of the DDA and the priorities of the DDA. So I think those are all things that obviously we can develop those as we go along. But I think they're important documents that should be at the forefront of our thoughts as we move forward.
Okay. So I'm going to get into the communication strategies. And certainly this is We have these in here, but it's certainly something that can be adjusted and strategies can change as we go through this, depending on things that develop or programs that happen. So all of this is kind of, as Lindsay said, it's moving forward, but we can also modify and adjust things as we go. So we build our plans on a PESO model. So that is paid, earned, shared, and owned. And specifically for the paid, shared, and owned channels, we are there as support and a strategic partner to Daniel and the DDA. And earned is kind of the lane that we are really, we do a lot of that and work with local businesses and work with Daniel to kind of push out those positive stories. So how we have set this up, and I believe we did it the same way last year, was we focused it on the 4 different communication themes that we heard from you all during the discovery, and also then in the questionnaire I know that was sent out afterwards in case you weren't able to make it. So the number 1 theme we have here is support local businesses, and that has been a theme that we've been working towards for quite a while. And certainly with the addition of Daniel now here for almost a year, businesses certainly feel that support because the businesses in downtown Royal Oak are what make this community thrive. And it's what brings people into the district. So we need to support them. And, I know Daniel does that a lot through paid content. He does regular stuff in Royal Oak Today. And then through earned media. We've been really working to bring in businesses to be part of those interviews as well. I know recently we've done stuff with Sidetrack Bookshop, with Rail and Anchor, with Motor City Gas. So we really want to hone in. And also, I know a big focus for us is going to be some of the new businesses that open in downtown Royal Oak. One strategy that we've talked about is creating kind of a, and I'm missing my words here, but almost create like a plan for them of when they come into the district of here's how the DDA can support you. So that certainly is going to be in collaboration with Daniel, and also, we've done media trainings with a couple of the new business owners recently. And we're trying to promote them, so it's just another way with all these new businesses opening to bring people into the district.
If I can add to that, just to make that crystal clear, what we're talking about is essentially creating kind of a like a package, a PR and marketing package for new businesses as an attraction tool. Mm-hmm. So to tell them the thing that already exists, which is that we will leverage our communication channels for you, but to have it be a clear process so that they can see you open your business, we'll do this, then this, then this to help you promote your opening. Now, we have made ourselves available to the businesses over the years, but I imagine as we roll that out, some businesses might say, hey, you didn't do that for me. Well, okay, then we'll do it for you too. It's okay that you've been here for a couple of years. Like, we're not going to exclude you from that. Mm-hmm. But this is an attraction tool. It's a marketing piece in addition to like a strategic piece that we would follow to implement promotional efforts for businesses. Mm-hmm.
And then part of what we've been doing too is supporting Daniel and gathering content from local business owners. And gathering that content can be used for multiple purposes, potentially a media campaign, depending on what it is, or it can just be content that Daniel can help share across Instagram and Facebook or in the newsletter or even on the DDA's website as well. All right, the second theme that we have here is parking. And certainly this is a subject that is talked about frequently. And really what we're trying to do here and, in supporting Daniel is promoting the different ways that people can park in downtown Royal Oak. And Director Rosbeck, I think it's a perfect thing to kind of focus on the safety of downtown Royal Oak and if we are pushing people to the structures. So Daniel and I are continually collaborating on ways that we can promote a positive parking experience across the DDA's channels. And, I think a lot of this will, in the coming months, will be collaborating with the city as well, and kind of doing that in tandem with each other. So messaging that the city is pushing out can also be used on the DDA's channels so that there is a cohesive message that goes out. Because ultimately, the parking is in downtown Royal Oak, and those are the folks, the businesses and customers that are impacted by this, by the parking. So, you know, a lot of this is going to be focused around clear communication and just continuing to promote the positive ways that people can park here.
It's like false advertising.
Well, there are positive ways that people can park, and we want to make sure that those positive ways are communicated clearly. We also understand that this is a frustrating issue, and like we're not intending to have toxic positivity around it. You know, like you have to acknowledge.
That's the exact phrase I was thinking. Toxic positivity.
Yeah, you have to acknowledge
Until
what
you're in
is
business
real.
in Washington, you don't understand how frustrating it is on a daily basis.
You know what, though, Lindsay? Honestly, outside of the back end parking, the actual app and the Sentry thing, it's like if you have it, it's the easiest thing in the world.
Well, I
If
just
you
want to
don't-
acknowledge my colleague here who we were going to rail and anchor the other day, and there was a gentleman that was confused, and she gave him a tutorial, like right on the spot.
Every day, 10 times a day.
That's the thing. That's the thing. If you, it's like
Take out Washington.
if you forget the back end, I'll just take that out of the equation. The system in general, if you understand it and you have the app and you load it, it's the easiest. It's easier than anything in the world.
Well, I mean, there's a number.
If you pulled into town for the first time.
Yeah, there's a learning curve with it.
Yeah.
There's a number of frustrations around it, and we're not here to pretend that that doesn't exist, but the reality is that while we have it, we have to do what we can with parking in downtown Royal Oak, and so that's what we're committed to. If and when circumstances change, when things are negotiated, that's when it's going to be even more important for the city and the DDA to be communicating clearly between each other so that you all are aware before the rest of the community becomes aware, and like there's a whole, you know, rollout of information so that the community understands what changes might happen and when.
That we look cohesive.
Absolutely, and not just look, but be, right?
Yes.
To be cohesive is the goal. And we're here to help you do that. And also to make sure that we're giving people information to navigate it as best they can given the circumstances.
All right. The third one here is Centennial Commons. We heard from you all that, you know, this is important to you. And we also heard that it's really important to people that visit downtown Royal Oak. One of the things that we heard very often from guests is that they like the green space and they want more of it. So this is really a huge selling point to getting more people here. It's another place for them to hang out, meet up, and also the walkability of it and walk around. So as programming is built out more in this space, it's going to be really important that we use this as another way to generate positive stories about Royal Oak and bring people into the district. So it's going to be a huge storytelling component. And it really just, you know, shows enjoyment for people who come here. I know you all mentioned that the ice rink is very busy, and it'll be interesting to kind of see as other events start taking place there, you know, what kind of customers that brings in.
Krista, I'm sorry to interrupt. Taking this and going back to what you said initially about businesses looking for non-ticketed events.
Yeah.
Where we're
This
not
is where
closing
you're
down
not gonna
streets.
close streets,
I mean,
right,
this is tailor-made. I mean, the ice rink shows it. I mean, most nights it's busy. There's all kinds of stuff going on.
Sure, and you know, you
And-
have a
and in the
space
summer.
where you don't have to close a street. People come down here, they park, and the hope is that they'll then frequent other businesses, retail shops, restaurants. But yes, because we did hear a lot that, you know, close less streets for events that you have. Small scale events that don't require a fee. You know, certainly once you are at the event, there might be things you have to pay for. But the event and the experience itself it doesn't cost anything. So we heard that from a lot of individuals, and a lot of folks love the different green space that's offered in the downtown district.
To that point, one thing that's important, and just to know that like when we're conveying information to you, we are a portal for what we have heard and learned, to give you the data and information that you need to go forward and make decisions. One thing that we also heard, if we want to attract residents, to consider how we might prioritize their enjoyment in Centennial Commons and in other areas. For example, at the ice rink, it's pretty expensive And what we're hearing is that it would be nice for residents to not have to pay or to have a lower rate than other people.
But they set up for that.
Tuesday and Wednesday.
No, they
Is it not
don't.
free?
It's only one day that they don't pay
Well,
for the residents. It's just
And
a one day.
This is information that we've heard,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
important to consider, that like giving people opportunities for free enjoyment. How is that achieved? I don't know. Sponsorship, whatever, those are not like how of it. I am not here to, prescribe, but the if is the thing that I want to make sure that we're clear on, is that a way to help residents feel like this is the town is for them, is to give them opportunities that they can enjoy that don't cost money, so that they can spend that money at the local businesses.
I would agree
This
with
always
that.
speaks to like the family friendliness too. This is a great place for individuals with children to come and hang out as well. And then the last one, because we heard from a lot of you that communicating the value of the DDA is very important. So part of this too, and Lindsay touched on this a little bit, is for you all to be brand ambassadors for the DDA.
Which you already are.
But having a cohesive message similar to the mission statement that we have. So one thing that we've talked about is doing kind of a media brand ambassadorship training with the board that Lindsay and I have facilitated for a number of other clients, so that the messaging can be aligned and that the individuals are hearing the same cohesive message. So that's going to be an important component to this.
And that we offer our expertise in coaching you through, how to answer questions, how to convey this information, like in a multitude of different circumstances. That's something that we could look at providing. And Director Safaya we had discussed that in the discovery session as a potential for probably the winter, ahead of the summer season.
Yep, and then this can also include, depending on what it is, include media campaigns about maybe the growth of the downtown district. And it could also include content that might be on Facebook or Instagram or in the newsletter. Show the impact that the DDA is having on the community, I think will be an important aspect. And this also can, speak to some of the business owners as the audience too. And, how the DDA is supporting them in ways that maybe they aren't even aware of.
So when I was listening to the Pride pitch, and he's offering a drag queen dunk tank sponsored by the DDA, I like that. Like, I like opportunities for you all to put your name and brand out there visibly, and we're here to collaborate with Daniel to talk through what are the right opportunities for that setting, but that would fall kind of under this category.
And just this last page here, which I think we've actually touched on a little bit already, is just, again, a lot of the feedback that we heard was, in addition to some of these larger events, hosting small scale events that can, involve the business owners and really support the local business community here as well. And, I think a lot of it too is the residents will kind of gravitate towards some of these smaller events. And we'll encourage them to also come to the downtown district.
So I want to touch on that for a minute, if you don't mind. And I need you to explain something to me. As we move forward with these small events, and I believe our marketing committee has kind of touched on it themselves about wanting to go in that type of a direction also. So, I'm pleased with that. I guess I need you to explain something to me is that, and I'll just give you an example. So I'm at a house party 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, whatever, and there's 15 or 20 people there, and to a letter, every single person there knows that there's an ice rink in downtown Royal Oak, and have visited it or have read about it, have seen it, whatever. But also, from the negative side, not one of the 20 people that were there knew there was a parade in Royal Oak.
Yep.
Not one. Not one. And I went around the room and I asked everybody, and not one person. Now, I guess what I'm asking is that the difference in the promoter and what the promoter does, or is that something that the DDA should be doing differently?
And which parade were you speaking about?
The
specifically?
jingle.
You didn't know about it either?
I'll just, you guys follow, if you just Googled it, if you just
Yeah,
Googled it.
I
and
knew,
saw-
Daniel, I don't know if you wanna,
We can address this.
I will touch on it. Specifically that event, the media and relations, the event producer came out right and said that they wanted to do that and took their approach and their scheduling. We offered Sirens capabilities for that and media connections. That producer chose to go their own route. And I think objectively, anecdotally, there was a smaller buzz around the event, especially among residents of the city, just based on them choosing to take that approach as opposed to a more planned out approach with multiple partners in the messaging.
In a word, the promotion stunk. Okay, I mean, all of that event. All you had to do, if you, I'm simple. So I just Googled it because I was trying to find out what time the parade started, and there were no articles. And then even when you went on their own website, the event website, you had to scroll down to find out what time it started. Just real quick, I was at the Maury, having dinner at 6 o'clock, and I said to the bar staff there, "You guys have a great seat for the parade." They said, "What parade?" They had no idea there was a parade. I mean, and it was, and honestly, if you Googled it, the only news media coverage was CNG, which is the Royal Oak trip. Whereas the other events,
The answer to answer your question on a broader scale, like not about this specific parade necessarily, but on a broader scale, when we implement small scale events, the answer is no, we're not going to be able to promote each one of them the way that the larger events are promoted. Because if you're
I'm
doing
not blaming
them,
you guys at
well,
all
I don't
for
just
that.
mean us. I mean in general,
No,
like because over your communication channels, you want about 25% of the content to be promotional and about 75% of the content to be storytelling based. Otherwise, you will lose people. So when you start implementing a lot of small events or enhancements, like say you wanted to throw a rock wall up in, Centennial Commons one weekend in the summer, we might be able to do a few. I think that's a great idea, but just saying. If you
Scale the parking structure.
if you, we might be able to do, Daniel might be able to do some Instagram stories about that, for example, but each one of those enhancements won't get like the full core press that a larger thing would.
And I totally understand that. And I guess I was bringing the point up that if we're going to get into this, we're going to have a strategy.
And we typically
for
develop
letting our residents know that these things are available.
For our clients, we
people
typically
outside as well.
develop for our clients, we'll typically develop a major event gets this kind of promotion, a minor event gets this kind of promotion, with like deadlines to find out in advance when it's happening so that we can activate those and pull those levers.
So Director Sophia, I mean, I'm going to agree with you that Jingle was not well promoted, but this also brings up the argument of, does the city own that event or does the promoter own that event? And what business are we in actually? And so we paid money to be the sponsor of that event in the whole hopes that we've also told them they need to promote that event.
Correct.
Unfortunately, the promoter did a terrible job.
After 4 years. I mean, seriously.
I agree, but that is an event, and I will say this as a resident of Royal Oak, it's one that Royal Oak should own.
Absolutely.
It is not one that we should be leaving to the whim of a promoter.
We're gonna. I don't mean to interrupt you, but we're going to have a discussion on this coming up too. We've had some discussions about having a strategic planning session, and this will be.
Correct.
This will definitely be something that will be not only that event, but the other events that we're involved with also.
But I think one
There'll
of
be
the
time to reevaluate.
Oh, that's you. I think one of the other things, though, that Siren does point out is when we talk about small-scale events, we're talking about Girls' Night Out or Shop Royal or things like that that are economically trying to bring in growth to our actual businesses. And so I appreciate your support on Small Business Saturday. I thought that was a really well attended event. I was there. I thought that Shop Royal was okay. I think the name didn't help us so much, so we learned from it. So I think there's opportunities to also do some sponsorships with the chamber on things like this, so that we can get a bigger
And collaboration.
and better, lift.
I will say, Director Sophia, I like hearing that a strategic planning session is on the horizon, maybe not the horizon, maybe like the docket. Because I think ultimately, if you're able to say what the DDA's event strategy is, I think that would really help provide clarity to the community on, what you're providing and why. That is something that we can help communicate at a strategic level if and when you all reach, kind of finality around that.
Okay, good. That's fine. I mean, that's definitely going to happen probably sooner than later. So
Great.
we'll move forward.
Related to this plan, please provide any feedback that you have to Daniel, and we can make that feedback after the new year.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on this? Okay.
Thank you
very much
Thank you
for your
all.
time,
Thanks, guys.
for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finish up the agenda here. Item number 10, annual reports. Tim, did you want to go over these, or?
Well, actually, the next item was the meeting schedule.
Oh, I'm
for
sorry, the meeting
2023.
schedule. I missed that.
But yeah, it's just sort of your standard action to approve your meeting schedule for next year. You generally meet on the third Wednesday of the month at 4 o'clock, based on your bylaws. We've identified some potential conflicts under the major religious holidays. If you want to stick with the third Wednesday of the month at 4 o'clock, there's a resolution there for your consideration.
Director Yazbek.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution provided.
I second.
Motion by Director Yazbek, second by Director Rosbeck. Anything to add on this item? No? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Annual reports?
Both of these are technically informational items. They're the annual reports for both of your funds. The first one being the operating fund, which is based upon the DDA tax levy that you levy on properties within your district. The various expenditure items you'll see are just that, operational items, and the amount of revenue being generated under that tax levy. And you'll see that the fund balance is growing by almost 8,000. Again, that fiscal year, which ends June 30th of 2022, or last June. So it was a report for last year. If there's questions on the operating fund, I'll take those, or I'll just jump into the development fund.
Seeing none?
Again, the development fund is for the fiscal year from July 1st of 2021 through June 30th of 2022. Again, you'll see the description of the items in the first column, the actual budget as it was amended through the year finally, and then the actual revenue dollars brought in, and conversely the expenditures that occurred. You will notice that you did eat into the beginning fund balance, which started out at 3.6 million by approximately 1.675 million, leaving you with a fund balance at June 30th of 2022 of $1,926,000. You will notice probably some of the bigger items. The miscellaneous contracted services item at $900,000 was related primarily to installation of some of the mass traffic arms in the downtown area, as well as your normal contracts with Worry Free and English Gardens. And then the transfer to the Royal Oak Civic Center project, which covered a lot of the items that were built for and part of the Centennial Commons. Other than that, I guess I'll see if there's any questions on the board. Again, there's no action necessary. This is just the annual report. You do have to publish it in the paper, each one of them in the paper, and they'll be submitted and added to the website pursuant to the statute. So unless you have questions, I don't have any other comments.
Okay, no questions at this time? All right, item number 11, you've already received the report from Siren.
I believe Mr. Brake would like
Mr.
to
Brake.
address the board membership starting in January.
Yeah, well, first off, I should acknowledge, I want to thank Director Riley for his service, congratulate him for his service, and thank him on behalf of the city as well as the board. Also, I'd like to welcome our newest returning member, Jay Dunstan. I'm very happy to have you back. So earlier this week, as well as last week, the City Commission appointed new members. In my view, I wanted to expand the membership. Some of the thorny issues that we've dealt with this evening, I think to have even greater number of voices with representation from different sectors. In the audience, part of the evening, Arbor LeClay, one of the co-owners of Nord Leather, will be joining us in January. Gail Von Statten, who is a resident, she was appointed to the remaining 2-year terms, will also be joining the board. Then lastly, Mark Van Este, who is a partner with the law firm of Howard & Howard. So by sheer numbers, the board will occupy all seats. So Daniel and Tim and myself will be moving over to the staff table as we only have enough chairs here. But anyways, optimistic about the new year, excited about having this new sectors, if you will, that are included and will help us with even better deliberations on our policy and other decisions that we make. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing that opportunity to make the announcements and to congratulate our incoming and outgoing members.
Director Dunstan.
Yeah, I want to thank Director Riley. Oh my God. So we went through what, the hotel project, the, what's his name, Ekins building over here, that garage.
696?
696, which was spawned right before construction, as you recall. They realized they didn't have electricity down there. And then, the Civic Center project. Those are all very difficult discussions, and thank God you were there for them, because you offered a really good voice. But I will say, when we did the Rebound Royal Oak and the Downtown Dollars, that was kind of the idea of Mike and Matt. But during the lockdown, I was still a member of the Business Marketing Committee when that existed. And the three of us and Tony, I looked at, we were meeting like 3 times a week via Zoom. And Matt was on us. We got to have this stuff ready. We got to be ready for when we reopen up. He was on all of us, and the previous downtown manager, Dan, thank God you weren't here for that, because he was tough. And he mortgaged a lot of his friendships, and I remember there was the Excel chart from God would help us with the Rebound Royal Oak and all the businesses that helped. So thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for your leadership, Matt.
And sorry to hear the passing of your mother.
Yep.
Who was just slightly a bigger fan of you than I am.
Yeah. Circle of life.
Right.
Director Yazbek.
Yes, at the risk of advocating for another issue that might be deemed premature at this time, I would like to nominate Matt Riley for the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority Hall of Fame, because picking up by, Jay mentioned some of the things that I was going to say, but, he was the driving force behind really saving downtown businesses. A lot of them didn't make it. But the ones that did make it, I think, owe him a debt of gratitude for all the, the meetings were fine, the midnight calls, I don't know about that, but in the downtown dollar concept, recognizing a weakness in Arts Beats and Eats and trying to respond to it, another fantastic, idea. I'm going to miss him a lot up here. I think we all will. So thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
I agree.
It's been a pleasure. And some of us, I've had my moments with just about everybody here, and your predecessor. That's probably half the reason he's not here.
He's not lying.
And I mean, Don Johnson called. I got here and I spoke once. It was believe it or not. The reason I got here was I was staunchly against Buffalo Wild Wings because it was across from my condo, and we already had enough mega bars at the time, so that's what I was advocating. And I came on as a resident, and I really hope that my fellow residents think that I've done a good job as well. In the meantime, I'm living it was funny, I was telling Tony today, my building now, between Hopcat going in and the construction going on above Buffalo Wild Wings, the old, what was it called again?
Vector 4.
Vector 4. There's like trucks lined up on my street every day. It's like hard to get out of the driveway and everything, but you know what? It's it's something I advocate for. And anyone in my building that says anything, I'm like, look, it'll be done soon. It'll all be better. So,
That's good.
but it's been a pleasure. It really has. And Tim, thank you for everything. I know I've been a thorn in your side at times, but and Dan, you escaped, man. You came in at the right time.
Okay,
one more thing, and Mr. Brake. I mean, when Mr. Brake came in, it was right towards the end of right when we had gotten through our stuff. And I remember our first Zoom meetings where we were kind of bringing you up to speed on stuff. And I was thinking, this guy must think we're insane. Right? They're doing this and doing that. I mean, you were in baptism by inferno, but it's really been a pleasure. Thank you for the nice
Well, I
words.
thought with you leaving, the meetings would be an hour shorter, but now we have 5 new members.
I know. Can you imagine?
We got to equalize here.
Lori, I think the 5 new members are still going to be
Shorter. Still be shorter. Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion.
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah, sure.
The window painting is incredible.
Yes.
My new office is right in the heart, of all of it, right down there, and all the businesses love it. All the customers, so to speak, love it. If there's anything I could suggest, is that we expand it, and I suggest also maybe we can talk to owners of buildings that are vacant right now and see if maybe they'd agree to let us paint over some of those vacant windows. I think that would be a good touch.
Agreed.
So that is a great program. That is a really good program. And the second thing I would like to just bring up real fast is there a way, and maybe we can talk to the city commission, on these meter, on whatever you call them, the control centers for these meters, to put a sticker with enforcement hours? Because I watch people out my window constantly, Sundays, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, going to Give Thanks Bakery, trying to figure out, walking back and forth, spending time they don't need to be spending, figuring out when the enforcement hours are.
This happens every day.
I know, I watch it.
It's interesting, because if you notice on Sunday, all the stanchions are green.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, but people
doesn't
don't
matter.
recognize it.
They
No, I
don't
know that.
understand it.
I know
Parking
that.
should be easy in most
It's a
downtowns.
very
No.
simple thing.
Yeah, trust me, we'll have a lengthy conversation about that next month.
Yeah.
Believe me, we will.
Okay.
No, I think the toughest thing, like I said, is for people coming into the city, which is
Yeah.
What the only thing they understand is every person who leaves the city with a parking ticket is an unhappy customer.
Yeah.
So every day you take that and multiply it, they tell their story. So we are leaving the city with unhappy customers every day, multiply it.
So I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay.
Matt gets
Oh, yeah.
Support.
Well, yeah, I'll do the Jason Krieger Memorial. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I support Riley.
Motion by Director Riley, second by Director Roswick.
You worked for a while. What deal?
Anything else? Nothing else? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned.
Coffee shop.